I got the saddest feeling nowadays that all my dreams are much too far away. Sometimes the nights got me aching, working hours in the cold. And I can't imagine how it feels to end up where you feel you had to go.
Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. It's good to see you. Happy Eclipse Day. It's a Monday. That means we're going to try to make it and I just invented this, so hold on to your butts. Fun day. And we're going to be talking about the slow and steady downfall of a horrible human being. Basically the worst creature that the earth of this generation has produced. Not even evil in an impressive way, you know? Like, you could make an argument that once upon a time, Genghis Khan, who slaughtered millions, was truly evil. I mean, you could make an argument the other way, say those were the times, but let's just go with that. At least he was impressive, you know? At least he took those Mongolian horse archers and really shocked the world, wowed some folks. You know, he was throwing plague-infested heads into cities. He was an innovator. But this guy, this Cheeto, that has also caused the death of many, at least 100,000 of his own constituents, there's nothing impressive about him, you know? It's like it's hard to have a good superhero franchise when the supervillains are so lame. That's what we have in Donald Trump, a lame supervillain. But fortunately, looks like his strategies are failing him. Everything he touches turns to garbage. That's just, you know, who he is. It's been known for a while. And he has touched, inappropriately, as always, the Republican Party. He's simply, he's worn out all the reserves they had for nonsense. This was a party that was already reliant on cheating to get by. And if he hadn't come along, it might have died over 3 decades. You know, maybe just as I was getting ready to retire, I might have seen the end of the Republican Party. Now, good Lord. It's like when someone's in the hospital and they catch pneumonia on top of whatever else they had. How it can just tear through you, expose all the weaknesses, amplify them, turn a wound into a gangrenous, festering thing. That's Trump. He's an infection in the wound. Let's hope we don't lose the whole country. And we just have to amputate something on the right. It's Donald Trump. We're going to start with the bad news, but don't you worry. We got a lot of really good news. But first, we must start with, we got to take our medicine. And start with what you must do. Well, Bob Treesh, good to see you. Let's say hi to the gang. Pinkerbell, good to see you, my friend. Aaron W. Hola todos. Hello, everyone. Hello to you. It is really good to see you. Lex Loser. That's, I don't know if that's yours, an Aaron W. original, but I'll tell you that's a real good one. I'm going to be using that a lot. Lex Loser is perfect. They are speed running, says Pinkerbell. They are speed running demise. Fingers crossed. Absolutely. The anti-corporatists, haha, I still have 10 people in my stream. Keep them going. Keep it going. Can I show your stream without deleting the thing I just set up? No, I can't. Folks, if you're not already subscribed, our old pal, the anti-corporatist, has a stream where he talks politics and tours America. He drives the roads of the U.S. in a semi-truck, and it is, I don't know if I'm using the correct term, in a commercial vehicle, and it's very soothing. It is very soothing. I highly recommend it. Subscribe to Anti-Corporatist if you haven't already. And he's a mod, so you can just click on his name, and you'll jump in a new tab, if you select the option, right over to his channel. Bob Treesh, hello! Looney Tunes 9000, good to see you. Let's jump to it. Nope. Didn't queue it up. Here we go. There, that's the tech problems you come here for. Well, wouldn't you just know it? The judge that Trump appointed, who didn't have the ethics to recuse herself when she was selected in his case, is acting unethically. Shocking. Also shocking, in an equally sarcastic way, is that our Department of Justice seems more interested in a clean cover-up than actually seeking justice for the American people. Jack Smith, in my opinion, is just Merrick Garland with the foreknowledge of having seen Merrick Garland. As in, if Merrick Garland had seen the Democrat cover-up of Republican crimes that he did before he was put into office, he would have done just a little bit more effort to make it seem like he was trying to get a conviction. But the reality, in my opinion, is that these centrist Dem appointees, either explicitly, in which case we should pursue it in a court of law, or more likely implicitly, are made to understand that they're not there for you. They're not there for me. They're not there to protect any of us. They are there to protect the status quo. Status quo is that fancy people are not subjected to the criminal justice system in the United States. That's just for you and me. That's just if we get uppity. No, fancy people, no matter how vile, they're never supposed to be punished. You cannot do that. The only thing you're supposed to do, if you're Jack Smith, if you're Merrick Garland, if you're Joe Biden, if you're anybody who has any say in who gets appointed to the bench, who gets the handcuffs put on them, the only thing you're supposed to do is make it look vaguely like you tried. Put in 1/8 of an ass's effort. And then tell the people, well, the wheels of justice turn slowly. So slowly, in fact, that you, the person who caused you harm, and your great-grandchildren will all be dust by the time it's quietly acknowledged that a crime was committed against you, and the person who committed it was allowed to live their whole life without consequences for it. That's how it's supposed to work. That's the impression I get, frankly. Here's what I mean.
But see, this is such a hallmark Trump crime because he doesn't deny the facts, especially the ones that make it criminal. Doesn't deny taking the documents, doesn't deny keeping the documents, doesn't deny the fact of the photos of where the documents were held. His only twist on it, and you can see it sort of making the smoke start to come out of the ears of people like Sean Hannity when he interviews about it, is he says his version of when you're president, they let you do it. That's it.
Yeah, that's right. And that's one of the things, excuse me, that Jack Smith highlighted in the draft jury instructions that he wrote, of course, following an order from Judge Cannon that he simultaneously argued was borderline nonsensical. In one of these draft jury directions that Smith proposed, he basically said the jury will be directed to find Trump not guilty if they decide that these are personal records. Oh, and by the way, Trump's lawyers are arguing that everything that left the White House under his watch and didn't go to the National Archives is a personal record. From this,
I'm not going to give this person or anybody else that appears on the screen, or yours truly, the dignity of finding a fair frame to present them in. I don't think they're full-throated enough about how awful this is. For context, if you're not familiar, Judge Aileen Cannon. Eileen Cannon? Come on, Eileen Cannon. She was put she was given her position as a federal judge by Donald Trump. Then, during the investigation into the stolen documents, the investigation, not the criminal case, the fact-finding portion, when the FBI raided Trump's house, Mar-a-Lago, a club open to randos, she ruled that they were not allowed to do that and said, you have to give him back. You have to give him back the documents he stole, even though it was clearly the government's documents. That was appealed to the 11th Circuit, the 11th where she is, and the 11th Circuit said Eileen Cannon is wildly wrong in this. So wrong, in fact, that we question her qualifications to be a judge. Yet nothing was done. It wasn't thrown off the bench. She should have been, could have been. Then Trump got very lucky, suspiciously lucky, I would say, because when it came time to actually try this case, because of course her name came up as the judge that was going to be assigned to it. You know, it's a lottery. There's 15 judges, I think. Her name came up. 1 in 15 chance. I question that. I wanted an investigation into that. It won't happen. At least not unless we fight for it. Like everything else. Like everything else in our justice system. Unless we fight for it, these things which are just supposed to happen, which are just supposed to be fair, will not be. But okay. Her name came up. She was assigned to the case. Jack Smith did not immediately, as he should have, he did not immediately insist that she recuse herself. So a bunch of pundits say, oh, well, he can't. Oh, he can't. He's got to give her a chance to corrupt the case first. He's got to let it be delayed unnecessarily a bunch of times first. She has to spoil this case first. And then, and only then, can he react. Okay, we sat on our hands. I guess that's how it works. It works poorly, but I guess that's how it works. Now, what has Eileen Cannon done? She said that you have to give jury instructions that insist that Trump be found not guilty unless very specific circumstances are met. These do not. You might think, well, is that what the law says? No. No. That's just her pulling that out of nowhere. She is trying to get a jury sat in this case. You know, you select the jurors, down they sit, and then issue instructions that say, here is a much narrower set of circumstances that mean you are allowed to convict this guy than is actually necessary, because at that point, cannot be appealed. At that, I mean, it can't be tried again. It's double jeopardy. In other words, she's throwing this for Trump. As we said from the start, she would. What has Jack Smith done about it? Not a thing. Not a thing. I am positive that we're going to be told by somebody representing the Department of Justice, well, they're going to sit down to do their podcast a year after Donald Trump has been allowed to walk on this. And they're going to say, well, you peons, you goddamn peasants just don't understand. You stupid simpletons just don't get it. That's the way it must work. It must work that way. We were following the letter of the law. And then you'll say, really, the letter of the law? And they'll say, well, technically, it was a one sentence written on a sticky note by the Attorney General 7 Attorney Generals back, saying something along the lines of vaguely, the law doesn't apply to rich people. That's, you know, we're calling it a memo. So not the letter of the law. Just whim. Just whim. That's all that is. Oh, the traditions are so important, though. Then you should have made them a law. The OLC memo saying you can't charge a sitting president. That's not a law. That's just some unelected, their opinion at the time in the 70s. Somebody with no chutzpah just decided that, but it prevented us from seeking justice while Trump was in office. Again, not a law that you or I, in a representative democracy, got to weigh in on. That is what is happening here. That is what we are, I promise you, that's what we're going to find out, was Jack Smith's reasoning. That's a thing. It's sort of like those folks that read the Bible and come away with wildly unrelated to the messages of the Bible conclusions, because they squint until they see what they want to see. We have never had a non-Republican as an attorney general, which means we've never had a fair attorney general, because I have never seen a Republican who is anything except corrupt. Here's the consequences. Here's what happens when you allow such a person, Judge Aileen Cannon, to just make a mockery of the rules of the court.
Standpoint of Jack Smith's team, this is an unwinnable situation, and the judge might as well, if she really believes this and really wants to stick to her guns on the legal analysis that she is very seriously entertaining, might as well just call the entire thing off. And clearly, in the view of the Justice Department, that would be preposterous. And in the view of a whole host of legal experts, including Bill Barr, that would be preposterous. This is where, for Jack Smith and for his team, they are in a very unusual situation. And of course, that's why we're seeing this unusual pre-gaming of, again, an unusual appellate strategy. From Trump's standpoint, making this an argument about the law rather than about the facts is helpful for two reasons. First, of course, it certainly seems that in the view of him and his lawyers, the facts are not super helpful. And second, having this become a drawn-out legal fight only ratchets up the likelihood that this thing won't go to trial before Election Day. Of course, the complexity for Jack Smith and his team is once they file an appeal, once they go to the 11th Circuit to try to get involved, that also extends the timeline. And all of this.
I don't care. Nor should you. The time to decide whether or not this thing goes to trial before Election Day, which, by the way, we had a right to. That was literally the moment the crime was discovered. They should have acted like there was a ticking clock right then. Instead, Trump was given an obscene amount of time to defy the law. I want a 9/11 style Truth and Reconciliation Commission into Joe Biden, into the Justice Department under Joe Biden. Did this prick seriously do what it appears that he has done? Because I'll tell you what it appears like he's done. It looks like all the people that Biden is responsible for putting into power dragged their feet on prosecuting Trump until it was clear that he was going to be running for president for the Republicans. Not until he declared. Trump declared that like the day before it was made clear that he was going to be charged. But they just about waited until the statute of limitations had expired on most of these crimes before anything was done. It looked like they were going to give him a pass altogether on some of the worst ones. Get progressives. Go to the ballot box. Get progressives into office. I hope you also vote for Joe Biden. Let's kill two birds with one stone. I would like to have that OLC memo rescinded officially. I would like a truth commission on what happened. Why does it take multiple years to prosecute somebody for a crime if they are rich and they are involved in politics, when it would take 2 seconds to prosecute the same crime when they are what the powerful people view as a nobody? You know, you and me. If we take classified documents, what happens? In about 30 seconds, SWAT team kicks in the door, tosses in a smoke grenade, windows get shattered, they shoot the dog, they tase your spouse, they beat you near unconscious with a billy club, handcuff you, then mace you, then drag you out, your skull rattling against the stairs as they pull you down your cement steps. And they throw your bloody carcass in the back of a vehicle, and you spend 20 years in prison if you make it that far, if you survived the beating you got. That's what happens to you and me. Trump, he's having parties with Russian spies at Mar-a-Lago. That's the difference in treatment. No more. If Biden, I don't think he's dumb enough to have done this, but if Biden had a senile moment and actually said out loud to Merrick Garland, slow your roll on this, I want him in prison. I'll deal with Kamala Harris for the 2 remaining years by the time we get such a commission finished, yada, yada. I'll deal with that. If Biden played with our democracy like this, I want him in prison. Trump, it goes without saying. I want his last days to be spent in cement, surrounded by it. I don't want him to see the sun without his own little vertical series of eclipses. Got to peer through bars to see the sun, of course. But Joe Biden, too. This is the height of corruption. What do they go on to say in this? They go on to say, well, it's not just that Trump might get away with this because of what Judge Cannon has done here. It's that she's even tried to do it. I'll sum up a 9-minute video for you by turning it into a 20-minute video. It's that she's even tried to do it. That damage is done. It can get worse. It will get worse if Jack Smith does not at least try to get her kicked off this case. But there has already been horrible damage done. Damage that will require repair. That will require we write new laws to ensure it cannot happen again. So that we send a message to the people who would try it next time. Now the precedent has been set. If Joe Biden appoints a judge, that judge doesn't have to recuse themselves in a case involving Joe Biden. That's insane. That's insane. If that judge throws the case for Joe Biden and the Justice Department just doesn't feel like seeking justice for you and me, oh well. Forget Biden. 2 election cycles down the line, DeSantis gets into office. And he just goes for it. He says, exterminate all the Muslims. Get rid of them. You know what? All these documents, I've just decided they're mine. Yeah, these nuclear secrets. You think that's an exaggeration? That's what Trump had, amongst other things. War plans. All these, I just decided they're mine. Let's make sure that I store them in the deepest parts of the worst state you can imagine. Oh, did the judge that came up, did that wind up being a sycophant for me? Oh, well. That damage has been done. Shame on all of us. Us for allowing this country to degrade in this manner. And them for seeing the opening and taking advantage of it. It's pathetic. Don't worry. I got a what you can do on this. Corrupt government officials are cowards. They cannot stand. Yeah, let me do I haven't done this impression in about 6 months, so I'll do my regular Merrick Garland impression. Cowards take advantage of that. They cannot stand to be seen. I don't think Jack Smith is any different. I put his contact information in the description. Use it. Give him a call, write him a letter, write him an email. Tell him that his failure to demand Eileen Cannon be kicked off this case is an embarrassment. Tell him that he is not seeking justice for you, and you see that. Tell him he's not a worthy representative. Tell him he is a failure. The law is there to protect you. He represents the law. He has failed. Tell him he must demand immediately that Eileen Cannon be removed. Whether he does or doesn't, you will have to look yourself in the mirror for the rest of your life and know that the person looking back at you either spoke up or failed to. Write Jack Smith. Do it tonight. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say. That's the harshest one we've got, folks. The rest of this is fantastic news. But fuck Jack Smith. In all sincerity, I'm so sick of being given weaklings and being asked to call them a champion. These palookas keep throwing these fights, and I won't have it anymore. If you have, by the way, youngins in your family, they're just getting out of college and they're expressing the fact that they don't know what to do with their lives, and they have good hearts. If they read tales of knights and chivalry back in the day and took them to heart, if they're honorable, suggest that they consider a career in law enforcement. These people that currently represent justice in the United States are conservatives, almost to a man, which means they don't believe in justice, which means they have no honor. They are not worthy of carrying a badge, hence the whole industry, the whole profession isn't trusted, and rightly so. But that's our fault. Mine especially. Once upon a time, I was on track to do such a job, and I just frankly didn't feel like it. I looked to my left, I looked to my right. Let me reverse that. I looked to my stage left, I looked to my stage right. And I said, Jesus Christ. Sorry for blaspheming, but I said, I do not want to hang out with these folks. I certainly don't care as much about this as any of these other folks around me. And I just fucking left. I'm ashamed of that. I wasn't truly ashamed of it until tonight. Now I am. Because I am positive 10,000 other people just like me who really were only looking for a decent paycheck while they dicked around in their 20s had the exact same thought process. And as a result, we allowed evil people to do it instead. I'd prefer vastly lazy cops to evil ones. I'm sorry. Let's see what you all have to say. Soul Life. Don't know what that's in reference to. Miss Blue Ocean. Well, let's put our effort into getting out the vote, getting people registered, and saving democracy. Trump is never going to be held responsible for anything. Oh, and this is Sandy. Hey, Sandy. And no, hard disagree. Not let's put our effort into something else. Not let's give up this fight. That is exactly the plan. That's what they've always wanted us to do. That's what they've counted on us doing. Oh, they aren't going to, they aren't actually going to say anything. They're going to sit there and take it. What happened when we actually put pressure on Merrick Garland? Well, son of a gun, we actually got him speaking about this stuff. Before we put pressure on Merrick Garland, the people who were in charge of investigating what happened on January 6th were not even allowed to mention Donald Trump. That is a fact. They literally were not allowed to say his name until we got involved. So no, do not say, let's put this aside. Do not say, well, let's put our effort into something else. We wouldn't want to actually bother anyone. Bullshit. Absolutely unacceptable, as a matter of fact. No. I love you dearly, but I'm on the opposite side there. No. Contact Jack Smith tonight. Every last one of you. Contact Jack Smith tonight. In fact, I will, if I have doubts that y'all will, I'll delete the rest of the What You Can Do's. In fact, this is the only one I'm uploading. Contact Jack Smith tonight. Tell him you see him. Tell him you insist upon justice. I acknowledge that he'll ignore a few of you. He might even ignore all of you. But make him nervous. Do not be passive. Do not just allow these things to happen. I'm yelling at Sandy. Why am I yelling at Sandy? Sandy, you're lovely. And Sandy, you're right. In addition, not just, I'm nitpicking one word. Not you I'm angry at. It's Jack Smith. In addition, we absolutely should vote. We should put our actual sincere energy into voting. Yes. That's when you're driving somewhere. If you're handing out flyers, it should be for that. But in terms of writing an email, you can do that. The tiny amount of effort. Fixate on this until you do it and then drop it entirely. That's how you maintain your energy. You should ruminate on this. You should dwell on this and think of nothing else until you do it. Then you can let it go entirely. Then you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about it ever again if you don't want, but you do have to do it tonight. We're changing the show. We're changing the show right now. God damn, this is why I enjoy. Love you, Jake. Sandy, this is why I want to do a show with you. You and I have actually interesting conversations. You know? Most of the time we totally agree. Sometimes we don't. Regardless, I am interested in what we have to say to each other. When I look back on our on Left Past 10, I'm shocked every time because I'm actually interested in re-listening to that conversation. That's not true with a whole lot of the people I talk to. Even some of the folks I interviewed. It's like, you know, there's almost no reason for the other one of us to be there. But not in our case. In our case, sorry, I'm looking for the contact form. Yeah, okay, I put it in there. Nope, didn't mean to print that. Sorry, 1 second. But in our case, it's actually something worthy of listening to, I feel. Son of a gun. I just lost the email. I'm so sorry. Well, it's got to be a letter, folks. It's a letter writing campaign. What a fool I've been. I'll put a better link in the upload. I hate the U.S. Justice Department with a passion. This is coming from somebody who has been a defender of it long enough to develop a hatred of it. We need happiness, folks, and so I will provide that now. Well, I'm pulling this up. Who else saw the eclipse? I did not. God help me. I did not. Oh, no. I didn't have those special glasses. What I did was overlap a bunch of sunglasses. And that worked. I'm registering for The Guardian because I forgot to do that. Oh. Oh, no. I just opted into the emails. I just did that for you, folks. Good Lord. The Guardian is so shady. All right. Let's get this in here. Well, if you despise Donald Trump as much as I do, put down the rock you were planning at trying to pitch all the way to Florida, hoping that it hit the right skull. Put it down. Put it down. Not needed. This guy is causing his own downfall. Humpty Dumpty is going to fall off the wall all on his own. Sometimes I like to think about what makes things bad, you know? What makes something good? And usually the answer falls in the somewhere in the category of does the most good for the most people, has the most net gain for all involved. Even if it means sometimes a lot of net gain for just one person, it's still the most net gain. But there's another element to it as well, which is even more basic. Does it function? For example, worshiping leaders as a god king doesn't function very well because you wind up doing a lot of irrational things. You make decisions based on untrue statements, untrue beliefs. Similarly, the way Trump operates, the reason it is illegal, so many of the things he does, is because you cannot function as a society with people using these business practices. The RNC is discovering that in the harshest possible time, an election year. Oh my God. They're just the Guardian, you're genuinely annoying me with the way you lay out your page. It should be enough just to have advertisements on the side. That was good enough for papers from the invention of papers until now. That should be all you need. Quit trying to mine my data. Quit plastering me with pop-up ads. You just put ads on the side. Moving on. Trump's RNC takeover triggers strife and staff exits as purge partly backfires. Donald Trump's allies, we're not going to read this whole thing, I just want to talk about the beginning. Donald Trump's allies installed to run the Republican National Committee have faced a tumultuous first month in charge, buffeted by staffing problems and operational headaches as they attempt to bring the party apparatus under the control of the Trump campaign before the 2024 election. The internal strife at the RNC has prompted the Trump campaign to privately admonish its new leaders in recent weeks, and the move to orchestrate a purge may have partly backfired. Good Lord, may have partly backfired with far-reaching consequences for the RNC. Multiple sources familiar with the matter said. The Trump takeover of the RNC arrived with a show of force just days after the blah, blah, blah. New chair Michael Wheatley and the new co-chair Lara Trump were elected. Here we go. When emails went out to the entire teams at the organization informing them they could resign and reapply for their jobs or be terminated. Doesn't that sound like the kind of shady business dealings like you have to deal with at like Amazon, some other effing franchise type place? Yeah. This franchise was just like a shady Chipotle. Oh, this was just bought by this guy that has a bunch of dealerships in town. All of you are fired, but please reapply. And if you do it now, we'll put a little star on your resume. Hey, real quick, what do you think of me? First impression. Just tell me right now, because you're about to reapply for your job. That kind of stuff. The idea was to ensure there would be no overlap between the RNC and the Trump campaign, which already had robust political and communication teams, and to weed out any staffers who were not fully committed to Trump and the wider MAGA movement. Hey, what do you think of me? Because I'm about to rehire you. You just tell me real quick. What do you think of me? But the threats of termination and the rumored loyalty tests, which turned out to be accurate when staffers were asked in job interviews if they thought these cowards actually did. They actually did reapply. God, imagine living your life without a backbone. I mean, literally no backbone. I mean, they have to have incredible core muscles. How are they able to walk? It's amazing. Got to be flexing all the time. Turned out to be accurate when staffers were asked in job interviews if they thought the 2020 election was stolen from Trump, though there has been no evidence. No evidence of election fraud. May have been too aggressive. In the weeks that followed, although the new RNC leadership quietly extended offers to a majority of former staffers, with the exception of those that worked in the RNC political department, oh my God, some staffers on crucial teams decided to return, the sources said. And here's the operative part. The situation means the RNC, that's Republican National Convention, has been left without people with deep knowledge of election operations. This is what we're going to be talking about. At the Republican Party's Central Committee, and who are willing to work for salaries far lower than what they could earn in the private sector. What does this mean? Oh, gang. It's not over. We got hard work to do. We have to work so hard that we get enough progressives in office that we can, frankly, go after Joe Biden. I mean in a court of law for his responsibility for Trump right now. But let me talk about how Donald Trump is because of his own pathetic corruption. So, this punk put his daughter-in-law as co-chair of the RNC and then cleaned it out. Tried to install all loyalists. Anybody who was worth a damn didn't take the insult. Oh, by the way, he's out of money. So he wanted to lower all their paychecks. So he could give the leftover money, to himself, but to dangle it in front of his lawyers. And to pay those lawyers who were smart enough to say, I don't work unless you pay me. He cleaned it out. What is the number one thing? You guys are politically active. What is the number one thing they ask you to do to help a campaign? Well, it's set aside giving money. That's implied always. What's the number one thing they ask you to actually do? To make calls. That's what they ask you to do. When you do this, they track who you call. They track likely supporters. This is so that that information can be shared within the party, and they don't waste their time and their campaign dollars and their finite amount of steps in their volunteers' feet going to houses that will have nothing to do with them. If they send you to a house, if you're volunteering and it's the week before an election, and they send you to a house that's got jackass MAGA flags, the racist Confederate flags, just a full-on Nazi's house, that's a party failure because that's a waste of your time, their time, everybody's time. Because that person will be of no use to you. The inverse of that is going to be what happens. Expect to see stupid-ass Republicans knocking on your door, asking if you want to help them betray the country. Because all of their experts are gone. All of the people who have helped corrupt this country, all the people who have gotten really good at screwing over you, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, everybody, all those people who are so good at fucking us are gone. They're left with sycophants. You saw how evil Trump was when he was in the Oval Office. Why didn't the country utterly collapse? Because he was equally incompetent Now, on a wildly reduced budget because Trump's been thieving from the party. Now, they're going to have to try to sway people over to their side. By the way, the people who believe that Roe v. Wade was a good thing and people, in fact, should have the right to an abortion is up 17% amongst Republicans. With that political landscape, while this guy is enduring 4 indictments, 91 charges, they are going to have no experts there to direct. They are not going to have access to the same information they did. I would expect to see stories in the next few months about old RNC types getting huge paychecks to return to the party. You know, they're going to go to whoever it is, Matt Schlapp, the famous sexual assault connoisseur, people he hired, people on his little black book. They're going to be offering them double, triple what they were making because they're going to realize they have no effing idea what they're doing. It gets so much worse. It gets so much worse. We're going to talk about that in a moment. We're going to look at the actual financial situation. This rabid beast should have been put down in the 80s when they admitted in court that they could not be trusted to have poll watchers. The shame that it had to die slow, but thank God it's dying. Oh, by the way, I should have probably mentioned, run for something. There's a link in the description. Run for anything. Run for city council. Take power away from these people. But you know what? You don't even have to win to be effective. Make them fight every inch of the way. Exhaust them. Bring them down. Run for anything. Run half-heartedly. Just make sure that they have to buy ads in your area or risk losing the seat because people just glance at the names, have no idea who either of you are, pick one and move on. It does get even better. Bad Lefty. Oh, boy, let me go back up. Pinkerbell, of course a pervert's name is Schlapp. I mean, it's bizarre, right? Anti-corporatist billionaire backers are backing Trump, though. Oh, yeah, but they were never not going to. The people who are backing Trump are not like, oh, he's having money troubles. Well, let's go and help him. They don't do that for free. They were always going to toss $500 million into a PAC. That's probably too much, but $100 million. Because they expect a payout. But watch. They have way less money than they would have, and what they would have wasn't enough to win in 2020. I'm not arguing that we get complacent. I'm just saying allow ourselves to enjoy what is genuinely good news. Because this dumb son of a bitch cannot run anything. All he knows how to do is, you ever see Goodfellas? You know how they take over that business because somebody's dumb enough to get into gambling debt with them? and they just start bleeding the thing until it goes broke, and then they burn it down for insurance money. That's literally all Trump has ever done. Runs a business into the ground, declares bankruptcy, gets a giant loan based on lies, starts again. He did this to multiple banks. He was down to just Deutsche Bank and also shady Russian allies, the mob. Well, really oligarchs. And then, King Mobster Putin. What he was down to. And he got a Hail Mary presidency because he was up against Hillary Clinton, arguably the worst possible choice for a candidate. So he's doing that with the Republican Party now. He's running it like he runs a business, which is to say poorly. And what's he doing? Bleeding it straight into his pocket, which he is spending almost entirely on, let's jump into it. AC got me started. AC, you're my environmental coffee house. I'll say light, because I think you and I agree. Frequently, but we make each other laugh as well. Let's see if this actually comes up. Yeah. Here's where it's going. You want to know where the Republican Party's money is going? Woo. That's how much money this guy owes. Thank you, Johnny Al Medessa. In 6 days, he's got a hush money trial coming up. 13 days presidential immunity hearing. By God, we got to get rid of Judge Cannon before that. The classified documents trial is scheduled to be in 41 days. The Georgia interference trial, 118 days. But remember, he lost that New York case. It's on appeal, but he still lost it. This is how much money. Every moment that goes by, interest accrues. It raises, till he pays it. He will lose his appeal because it is one of the most open and shut cases of fraud that has ever existed. Doesn't matter that he got a bond company to cover this thing with what was essentially a crumpled IOU on the back of a Denny's mat. Doesn't matter because they aren't liable for paying this whole chunk of money. Trump is. That's where his money's going. He's going to bleed that out of his donors. He's crossing into territory where it's literally too much money for his small donors to pay. So the billionaires are going to have to foot that bill. Is that a good investment? Has he demonstrated that he's grateful? How about if it doesn't look like he's going to win? Not a smart investment. You're not likely to get your money back if you do invest in Trump like that. You will either chase him into a pauper's grave, or you're so sure that he's going to give you a tax cut that you think it's worth putting him in office. But the question then becomes, how much of a tax cut did you get the last time he was in office? Because if you've got to bail him out of that through money laundering, I know it's not legal, but that's what they're doing. You got to bail him out of that and fund a presidential campaign. As soon as it gets 1 cent more in terms of cost than the tax cuts you got last time. So, not a good investment. Trump is everybody's worst enemy, including his own. It gets better. AC, I'm not sure if you're also still streaming. So why would I distract you by asking? Oh well. I'll jump on your next live stream and toss some questions at you. Oh, gang. Sometimes I think the easiest to sometimes I think it's easiest, there we go, to just show who Republicans are with charts, because they invest so much time in confusing the issue, you know, that they get people confused about like what CRT means or DEI, or whether something is an issue of freedom of speech or not, and they get us to forget like the real, just basic facts on the ground. Facts like, for example, Truth Social was nothing but a pump and dump scheme. I really can't talk today. A pump and dump scheme. Here we go. Oh my gosh, you might be thinking, is that the value of Truth Social stock? Yes. Oh my gosh. Is that its value over many months? No. Today. Just today. Over here, that's 9 a.m., where it's worth $41. $37 now. Earlier, it was down to 36. It's 37 now. Oh, that's stabilized, huh? Yeah, that plunge it took nears it disturbingly close to $30, wherein Donald Trump will incur, by contract, with his business partners, who I'm sure are regretting it, further penalties. It's plummeting, gang. The link's in the description. You can watch this in real time. Pull it up tomorrow. Watch where it goes. It gets to $30 by the end of the week. Trump loses another massive amount of money. It lost $3 one day per share. Remember how many shares he has? I think it's 700 million. Multiply 700 million by $3. Wait, let me find out. That seems like too much, but let's be absolutely sure. Let's do it live. Oh, wait, I'm on OBS. I can do this right now. No, I can't. How many shares of Truth Social stock does Trump have? Oh my God. Okay. CNN kindly did the math for me here. Trump owns a dominant stake of 78.8 million shares in Trump Media, which launched in 2021. Its plan to go public by merging with a shell company was delayed for years by regulatory and legal scrutiny. Oh yeah. But it's caused his net worth to tumble, hold on to your butts, by $2 billion since Truth Social stock peaked last month. I didn't get an actual number. I want to see the actual however many so I can divide it by 3. Oh, let's just put it like this. Here we go. After its first day of training, Trump Media was valued at as much as $11 billion. That's almost twice the valuation that Reddit achieved after its initial public offering in March, even though Reddit generated roughly 200 times as much revenue, despite the pump and dump. That's the pump part. Despite the recent losses, shares of Trump Media at the bank and the blank check company it merged with have more than doubled this year. That's the stock pumping. The dump is what you're seeing right now. Oh, yeah, Forbes. Oh, that from 3 hours after that story from CNN. Trump's Truth Social share down over $3 billion from its peak in a day, gang. In a day. Trump owns so much Truth Social stock that it's in his contract that he's not allowed to sell it for 6 months. He tried to weasel out of that, of course, because he couldn't pump for 6 months, as I'm sure Melania can attest to. He can't pump for 6 minutes. He's not allowed to sell it for 6 months. Every time it goes down, he loses whatever the dollar amount it goes down by, multiplied by however million shares he has. The last I checked, I think it was 700 million. Seems like a lot. That seems like an awful lot. But that's the kind of cartoon numbers this idiot deals. So whatever. Say it's 70 million. 70 million times 3. Let's just go with that. 70 million times 3. Good Lord. That'd be what? $210 million gone in a day. Not only do I think we should not have billionaires, I think we don't have billionaires. I can't think of one person in this country who could legitimately go to a bank and say, I would like $1 million bills presented to $1 billion bills presented to me. Mine, give it to me. A bunch of people who'd get a printout of how many stocks they have, but that's sort of what happens when you don't do any actual work. Their money is all hypothetical. It's just they're measuring how much of the aristocracy they are. Well, Trump's aristocracy measurements there went down by $3 over the course of a day. 10% of its current value over the course of a day. One day. It gets to 30. It's at 37 right now. If it gets to 30 by Friday, he incurs more debt. Or more penalties, I guess I should. This is a guy whose reputation was built off of fleecing dummies, especially rich dummies. Convincing people that an article that he got Forbes to print about him should be used instead of credit. But he's genuinely famous now. He's genuinely trying to be trying to move the levers of power, which means people are actually paying attention to him. And not just idiots like Jack Smith. No, there's actual bloodhounds like Fawny Willis who are going after him. Like Letitia James, who've demonstrated he's a fraud. And all that hypothetical money he has. The lack of clothes on the emperor are becoming apparent. Good. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Folks, I enjoyed ranting and raving with you today. I'm sorry I'm not sorry. I don't feel it. But I'm sure later tonight I'll be sorry that I got so hot. Thank you for being patient with me. Contact Jack Smith. When I upload this, I will find more direct contact information. Contact Merrick Garland. Contact Joe Biden. Raise hell that we live in a situation where we must beg for justice. Raise hell about that. And Sandy's right. Ultimately, yes, vote. Vote so that we do not have to embarrass ourselves by begging for what was promised anymore. She is right. Ultimately, that's how you fix this. That's the long-term solution. But don't skimp on this now. Do not give him a pass. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake. We got Letter Hack coming up next.